Are we ready?
At CFUV. If you come in, Brian, if you can bring the controls in, there we go. I'm going to bring him in now. Bring Brian Webster in. Here he is in the studio. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Joe.
Okay, now you're the outgoing musical director of CFUV?
Station manager.
Station manager.
That's me, yeah.
Okay, and your year's almost over.
My 3 years are almost over.
3 years in that
been
position.
forever. Yeah.
Whoa, well then you have really been in on the making of this station.
Pretty much. I started here, we'd been on the air 6 months, and a lot has happened between 1985 and 1988, that's for sure.
And the big news is you guys are bumping it up, and we're going to all be able to hear you soon.
The big news is...
Always promise. Soon.
We're getting close.
Yes.
We're getting close. We've worked through the Department of Communications. Now we've just got the CRTC to get through. That'll be a hurdle. It's a big bureaucracy in Ottawa. But hopefully by fall, we'll have 2,000 watts of power, no more 50 watts. People will actually be able to hear us in their cars, at home, and everywhere else. So
well, I'm really looking forward to that.
Should make a real
difference. I can get a
difference.
pretty good signal at home, but it would be great to hear you in the car.
Yeah, it totally depends where you are.
That's
and it's one of the things that's really held us back in terms of building an audience and being able to say to people that we're there. Because you can have the greatest programming in the world, but if somebody who happens to be living behind a rock or something can't pick you up, you're in trouble. And people in James Bay, in the concrete, can't hear us either. And a couple more months, no more problems.
Okay, over the 3 years, what were some of the biggest challenges that you've had, and that's maybe some of the biggest successes?
Okay, some of the biggest challenges have been not particularly romantic or exciting things, because we had some really serious financial problems in the early years. Way back in the mid-'80s.
Back in the early... Yeah.
That's right, back in the early years. And we've overcome a lot of those. And that means we're now on a pretty stable footing. The station isn't going to collapse in 6 months. But probably the most important thing is just the fact that our programming has grown and become much more diverse. We've got spoken word programming and music programming, which is really unique, and for the most part is excellent. And it's gradually building a consistent audience in the community. And I think that's the key to the whole thing, reaching the community and getting them to realize that if they have particular interests in terms of music or any other kind of programming, that we've got some there for them.
And to get the economic support.
That's really important. And last year, our fundraising campaign that we held in October tripled. We raised $12,000 from the community, which was great. It's just a first step. You can raise a lot more than that. And hopefully this October, when we go through our 4th on-air fund drive, we'll bring in a lot more money.
I had a lot of fun last year with Peter Loverick one Sunday night. I think we got $300, something like that.
It can be a lot of fun doing that kind of thing. It's unique to have your audience actually phone in and give you money. Most radio stations don't do that kind of thing. And it can be very exciting. It's a lot of work.
Those of you that want to do that for this program, you can just wire it to me. Let's see who else we can bring in here, Brian. Or, let's see here. Let's turn this. Let's see if we can bring somebody else. Okay, now let's see if I can bring my main man, Eric LeBlanc, in from Bluesville here on the show. There he comes. I can feel him coming in. Hello, Eric.
You beamed me up?
Yeah, I beamed you up.
Okay, thanks.
Eric, you brought in some blues records for me.
Right, yeah. When we just met a couple days ago, I told you I got a whole bunch of new ones. So should I just go with two of them?
Fire.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay, this is look at the cover of this thing. Can you see this guy's saxophone, or what do you think that is? Look, see, he
Very bizarre.
It's a combination of a sax, an alto sax, and a trombone.
I was going to guess one of those washboard things. It
Yeah,
almost
no.
looks like he could hit it with his
Yeah, no, but
fingers.
he plays like this way.
It's a trombone.
Yeah, and an alto sax. Anyway, his name is Snub Mosley, and I'm featuring him this week. The name of the album is called The Man with the Funny Little Horn. And it's on a label that's distributed, all these records, by the way, are distributed out of Sweden. His name is Mr. R&B, and he's been doing this for about 10 years, and in the R&B field, his albums are considered the best in production value. Example.
Yeah.
You've never heard of this guy, right?
No, of course. Woo! He's got a book.
Oh, yeah, he's got a book, and every one of these albums is a book. I mean, I think it's amazing. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of the guy, but the guy's dynamite. He came out at the same...
This is why CDs and cassettes are never going to make it in my house. Because I love this. I love to be able to read about it.
Now, see, look at this album. It's got over 17 records in it. This is, by the way, let me give you something history about the man. The man died not that many years ago in New York City, and he was sort of along with Louis Jordan and people like, I don't know, Lucky Millender's band. There's a whole slew of jump bands that made a sound, and he was one of these people, one of many maybe. And he was too serious. He was a very honest guy in the business, and as a result, he never made it.
Not into shucking and jiving.
Not. But great little band, jumping little band. This is a great album. I'll be featuring this week on Let the Good Time, all this month actually, this album.
Great.
So that's one.
Wednesday nights.
Between 8 and 9:30.
Let's get a plug in there, yeah.
Is another album from the same group of people. This is a label they distribute called Dr. Horse. And this is a label that specializes on vocal groups, black vocal groups, usually of the late 40s, early 50s. This is a group called the Dewdroppers. And the Dewdroppers are known, let me just read, to see if I can read something about it. It says here, they created a series of records that rock, swing, and enraptures its listeners. They're a great group. The thing about the Dewdroppers is that they were initially a Jubilee gospel group. And somebody convinced them to do rhythm and blues, non-religious.
Yeah.
And they just knock it. The name of the album is I Can't Do 60 No More. I'll let you decide what that means, eh?
How many 60-minute men on the cover
exactly, all right. And so this album's got 17 records. It's got stuff like, it's one of those albums that jumps from the beginning to the end. And by the way, in this album is Ben Webster.
Playing the horn behind?
Yes! Ben Webster in 1952 was having a hard time, and some people brought him to New York City and put him in the recording studio. And one of the things he did was that he recorded with the Dewdroppers. And he does a beautiful stuff behind these guys. Anyway, that's the Dewdroppers. The notes are incredible by Peter Grandizia. They give you the history of the group. So that's the thing about Mr. R&B product, is that you get full facts on these cats, you know?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Here's Paul Williams. The name of the album, Spiders Send Me. You know who this guy is? He's a guy who originated the huckabuck.
That dance.
That's right. Paul Huckabuck Williams. One tune, and he made a living for years, right? He's still living.
Where's his base?
He's now based out of New York. Still living. Look at the notes. Great, eh? I think it's great. The name of this label is called Saxophoniograph. This is the 10th album in that series. So every album in this series is all dealing with saxophonists. So if you're into the saxophone sound, which I am, this is a great label. And production value great. Helen Humes, this is the second album.
Oh, I've got a Helen Humes
This
album.
is the second album on Whiskey Women Ann. Again, a label distributed by Mr. R&B. These concentrate on her R&B years. You know, she first started out, believe it or not, she first recorded in 1927. She was 14, doing folk-type blues, right? And then Count Basie picked her up, right? She was with Basie and Jimmy Rushing until about 41, 40, somewhere in there. And then she started doing R&B. These are R&B songs. She rocks. Yeah. No, this lady may sound sweet, but she's got some lyric stuff,
She's a lot bigger than in the album I have, too.
Yeah. Well, there's two albums on this series, Whiskey Women Ann, again, distributed by Mr. R&B. These are all, by the way, all brand new albums. These albums came out about maybe a month ago. So this is probably the first time people... By the way, I get all his product for this show. So Let the Good Times Roll features, right off the press.
Right.
If you're into this music, right?
You gotta listen to it anyway, Eric.
Thank you. Tiny Bradshaw. Look at the name of the album. I'm a Highballin' Daddy. Oh, it's a great album. Tiny Bradshaw is one of the bands, like Louis Jordan, had great musicians, mostly honking saxophone. One of the most famous honkers in his group was a man called Red Prescott, who is Arthur Prescott's brother. Arthur being a ballad singer, Red Prescott being a beautiful tenor saxophonist, and he just rocks on this album. Now, there's an album out on Charlie Records with Tiny Bradshaw. These are the earlier recordings. That's one thing that Mr. R&B does. Unlike certain other labels will concentrate only on one part of their career. Mr. R&B tries to encompass their whole career, so it gives you a very good outlook on their music.
Let me tell you, Eric LeBlanc's program here at CFUV, every Wednesday night will do that. That's as good of a description of what you do as anything.
Joe.
You give them a real shot, Eric.
Variety.
You can learn about the music listening to that, and I'd recommend it to all of you out there. Now, Eric, let's see if we can't bring somebody else in with this machine of yours behind here. Turn this and bring
You'd have to
The Art Report, coming to you from someplace you've never...
New, not program director, but station manager of CFUV. Yes, I think there he is. Okay, hello, Tim.
Hi, Joe.
And congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm really excited about the new year. I bet you are, too. Besides being the new station manager here, Tim Chan is also in the local band 64 Funny Cars, and that's another nice part of CFUV is that musicians like yourself are involved in getting music out to the community in many ways, not just on stages, but at the radio station here, too.
Definitely. 64 Funny Cars, I was about to say, CFUV is home to several bands. Members of several bands from Victoria do programs up here as well. We're probably the only radio station in town that plays local demo tapes.
Right, and that's really appreciated. Any other new things that are coming up in the next year? Any hopes, the things that you'd like to try?
Well, during my term as station manager, we will be getting our boost to 2,000 watts, as well as a change in frequency, and I hope to promote that as much as possible in order to get as many people knowing about CFUV as we can when we change to 2,000 watts. And in terms of the financial thing, 2,000 watts will bring our programming to many more households in Victoria, and so many more people will know about us and hopefully give us money to keep us on the air.
Any idea about program changes? Should you get more money, things you'd like to try?
Yeah, right. I'd like to, one of my main, or one of my aims as station manager will be to consolidate what we have already. Brian Webster, the guy that I'm succeeding, has brought in lots of fantastic programming, and I hope to, this might not sound too exciting to people out there listening, but I hope to look at what we have right now and make it as good as possible, so people will tune in when we have 2,000 watts and hear a quality programming.
Well, as an avid listener, I'm glad to hear that, and I hope that more people out there in our viewing audience gets a chance to hear your programming. It's great to use it as a place. Thank you very, very much for letting us use the studio to do the show, and I guess it's time to say good night. We're here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 6:30. This is Joseph Blake for In Town. Good night, everybody.